it raises the risk of friendly fire incidents, and we certainly have already had a few of those.
Okay, on that note, let's
as far as giving them increasing...
Let me bring in Wafik Moustafa, because there's so many developments I'd like to cover. I apologize for that. Wafik Moustafa, of course, NATO's airstrikes has caused civilian casualties. Tell us your reaction of a nightmare scenario, which has occurred, with our correspondent saying that there's a stalemate, which some U.S. Analysts have said that's a scenario occurring right now in terms of the situation, which would lead to a partition or division of Libya.
Well, I think stalemate is premature to think that way, because there's only 2 weeks since the NATO, United States, and the Arab League forces were working on the Libyan skies. And I think it's given more time, the tipping point will come. And I think my own analysis that the NATO and the West generally is waiting for Gaddafi's forces to desert. Particularly, you've got a lot of people, senior people like the foreign minister, Musa Kusa, and he's previously his interior minister, and a fairly number of senior figures have deserted Gaddafi. And as well, we hear today that some senior figures have been executed. If that is true, that means the tipping point is coming pretty close. So I think it's have to be, in my view, to be extremely cautious to how to arm the anti-Gaddafi or the rebel in the east. I think is probably focusing more on destroying the Libyan Gaddafi capability, which I think in tatters, and I don't think he have a lot of support on the ground as he pretends so, because all the rumors say his son is arresting his father, there's some divisions in the command, in the family, and all this shows there is a huge problem inside, which time will show in a very short a few days.
Right. Well, let's bring in Nabil Halak to get a reaction. Your reaction to the statements there by Wafik Moustafa.
Well, first of all, Mr. Mustafa, he have a point, a point of view that we can discuss, and but of course that there is a great division now among the Gaddafi, within his family first, and within the people in command. And what you see now, that what happening of the battles, what happened in Zintan, Musrata, in Zwara, in the western Jabal Gharbi, and the rest, that will show that these all western Libyan towns, that mean they eager of fighting the idea of dividing Libya. Especially Musrata itself, it was the first town through from the previous history, it was the town who fought hard and struggled to maintain the unity of the Libyans. So that will hopefully with the resistance of the result of this resistance, it will result of the defeating the aim of dividing Libya. Now, concerning what Mr. Mustafa said, yes, I think it's the last days actually for Gaddafi's regime, because by using his last the card, I can say this Mr. Obaidi's visit to Greece and to Ankara and to Malta, in order to show that there is a proposal from the Libyan side for a peace negotiating plan, and there is a ceasefire, and there is an interim government, which is in fact that it's going to be refused or rejected by the rebels.
Well, and let me bring in Johnny Miller. I'm sorry, let me bring in Johnny Miller to talk about the revolutionaries, the people in Libya, in terms of whether they entertain even that thought. Johnny Miller, about this Gaddafi's son's proposal, what reaction have you heard?
Well, one man put to me today that he'd much rather 2 more years of Gaddafi, if Gaddafi dies in a couple of years of natural causes, then 40 more years of a dictatorship by one of his sons. Ever since the revolution began here, there was one main aim: to get rid of Gaddafi and to have a constitutional democracy, and that is still very much the aim of the revolutionary forces, and it's difficult to see them, quite frankly, even signing a ceasefire or stopping the war on the front or stopping their demands until Gaddafi, and that includes his family, leave office.
Okay. Brian Downing, you have the engagement in military action, claiming a desire for regime change. There's been unwillingness to use force to achieve that change, but there's talks about arming the rebels, the revolutionaries, while providing support to those seeking to oust Gaddafi. A stalemate. I mean, there's a lot of confusion that also has divided some NATO countries. This thing, tell us what are the objectives here and how to go about them, if there are any clear-cut objectives.
I think it's pretty clear that NATO and Qatar and the United Arab Emirates want Gaddafi out of power. They want Gaddafi's sons out of power. I think they have said that they will not use military power to effect that change. However, I think that could be misconstrued as meaning they don't want him out, but I think they do very much want him out. And I think that the Western forces are arming the pro-Gaddafi force, I'm sorry, the anti-Gaddafi forces, with Sagger anti-tank missiles and some other things. There is a reluctance to give them too much more sophisticated material because most of these troops really are not very well trained.
How are they arming them?
Really cannot operate anything more sophisticated.
How are they arming them, if you can tell us?
My understanding...
Go ahead.
My understanding is that the equipment is coming in through Egypt. It's not clear what country it's ultimately coming from, but it is Russian and Soviet-era equipment, including fuel. The Sagger anti-tank missile is a relatively simple wire-guided anti-tank system that can also be used on any kind of fortified position or on a pickup truck that is armed with a mortar or an observation crew. But beyond that, as I said, I just don't think the anti-Gaddafi forces can handle too much more sophistication in their weaponry.
Okay, well, there's reports that indicates, first of all, that CIA and British intelligence personnel are on the ground. This is under directives on the CIA part by Obama. Even before signing on to that directive, Obama okayed this, even back onto February 24th. I want to get Wafik Moustafa in here. You have the United States, and you just had the Brian Downing saying that they're being armed. If it's through Egypt, perhaps the directives of the U.S. So the question comes to mind, the U.S. intentions when they have CIA personnel on the ground. It's just a matter of uniform then, isn't it? Not just boots, but uniform. And in the meantime, the revolutionaries being armed. What is your perspective?
Oh, there is certainly some personnel in the ground, but not in a huge number to, if I want to use the word occupation, is to guide the air forces in a way to hit the right targets. And I think that's his main problem. Obviously, there may be a supply of arms from Egypt, but I doubt it will be officially recognized by the West, because we know United Nations resolution 1973 is very clear about land forces. But the whole point is with modern technology and modern weaponry and the precision techniques of the sophisticated NATO Air Force, I think they can do very similar work on the ground in Gaddafi's forces without causing collateral damage in a significant number, because sometimes very impossible. As you could see, all of them using similar trucks, and possible friendly fires could cause problems. So I think there is a lot of things unfolding, but my own gut feeling, Gaddafi is losing, because it's a matter of days. He is a desperate man and is not to be trusted, and he's not liked by people in Tripoli or in Benghazi. So
let me bring in Nabil Halak. Nabil Halak, there are intentions by so many countries for their own benefit.